Honourable Minister, so this Ministry for Monitoring and Evaluation, first of all, there are many people who have questioned the relevance. What have you been monitoring so far? Why is your ministry so important?
Well, let me. Somebody must hold all of us accountable for what we've been tasked to do. There's always been monitoring and evaluation in every ministry since '92. They call them PPME, but it has not worked well. And the president wanted somebody, in his view, who has experience in government to be able to assist, facilitate the work of my colleagues. So we started out by agreeing with the ministers on what we call the government results framework for 4 years. So every year we know what your deliverable is and so forth. And I report back to cabinet as whether or not you've achieved it. And so cabinet has approved it, and that's what really I'm monitoring. I send quarterly reports to cabinet, and we discuss it, so that the whole idea is not to police them; it's to facilitate their work so that they achieve the deliverable. So, for example, if the problem is the Ministry of Finance not releasing on time, which we found out that last year that was our biggest problem, gift miss and so forth and so on. So, one of the things is that this year, the Ministry of Finance itself must change its style to make sure that the money is delivered. So basically, that's what I'm doing.
So you monitor every ministry and give quarterly response?
Government results frameworks is for every ministry. We've been focusing initially on the flagship programs, but then I do one for every ministry. In fact, the funny part is that when I do it for the flagship and I don't do it for the rest, they complain that I've not come to their ministry. So now I think we are getting used to it. But because we shared the results in cabinet and we discuss, people are happy. And I know some ministers who, when I send them a letter and they have not delivered, they call me personally and say, hey, please, hold on, I'm coming.
So do you do paper monitoring or actual monitoring?
There are several ways. In fact, my staff came from the field not too long ago just to check on some of the planting for food issues and also free SHS. So we do a desk monitoring, and we have a template. And there are specific targets and indicators that they must meet. And so when they don't meet them, we'll sit down. I usually we have a staff who meets the staff from the other side. They sit down and discuss it, make sure that they know the reasons why things are not working, and I report. And because the report is in cabinet, every minister is held accountable for their ministry, whether or not they know what is happening.
What staff strength do you have?
Oh, not very big, but technically very sound. I think the technical group is not more than 10. But their work is very tedious.
Now, there's an auditor general who does auditing financial auditing. Parliamentary select committees do site visits to check on projects.
Some of them.
Yes, I know there's a specific committee that does this.
Government assurance.
Government assurance.
Yeah, the government itself needs an internal mechanism to follow itself. We don't need Parliament to. Parliament is going to oversight us. But we as a government, the president must know that if, we talked about it, one district, one factory. Why couldn't we do 50 in the first year? The president needs to know. So if there are shortfalls, we fill the gap.
So what failures have you found and told cabinet?
Oh, this one of them example is the disbursement of funds. That gift miss instrument, most of our ministers were not used to it because you have to initiate the payment, and the payment does not come to the ministry anymore. It goes to the vendor. But most of them did not understand that people are used to saying, oh, payment should go to finance. Finance is not the final arbiter. You must certify that the goods are there, and your people must get on the computer. And most people I found were not used to it. It's getting better. In fact, we had a workshop for all the ministers going through this, and it's gotten better. But it must even get better next year, because next year I call the serious implementation year, and nobody can relax.
Early this year, you monitored your colleagues, and we were told you presented a report to the president. We never got to see who you graded F and who you graded E.
We don't use F. We use red, green, and amber.
Okay.
And so that
where red means
my brother, you are in trouble.
Okay.
Gold means check yourself. And I won't talk about all of them, but that first ranking, the best ministry was education.
As in the most effective.
They had achieved all the deliverables they promised. Some of them, I can see why they didn't.
Even though they had infrastructure problem in senior high school, there was a teething challenge with the
first year indicator was not part of it. We expect that to be in the third year. So in the third year, it will change.
Which ministry did you find wanting?
It's a cabinet matter.
You have told us the winner. I should tell us the loser.
No, the winner, yeah, but cabinet has not authorized me to tell the
Can
loser.
I then say that it was because of your announcement that some ministers were removed from their ministries for possible ineffectiveness?
I myself.
So the Minister for Information was removed, sent to another ministry. The Minister for Zongo Development was thrown away to another ministry.
I can share with you how the reshuffling was done. The president called each of us personally, had a discussion with us on what he felt about our work, and took the decisions himself. Whether he used some of our work, I don't know. But I got called with him and some staff members, and we debated what he thought I was doing, and I left.
Doc, you have been government before.
Yes, for 8 years.
For 8 years. You served in the finance world.
And in opposition for 8 years.
You really think that 110 ministers is what is needed for this government to function effectively?
In fact, if people are not shy, we need more. Let me assure you, in the finance ministry, even during Akufo-Addo's time, we had 4. And even then, we were overworked. The way government runs, my brother, I used to go home at 12 midnight with a file, sleep at 3, and get up and come back at 7 in the finance ministry. And this was for 8 years, not for 1 year. So you can imagine the government work is serious business. And if you're going to do it right, it's costly. If you have the right people, I will say it on record, there's no minister who can do the work on their own. It's not possible. The work is so much.
So if 110 you think is not even enough, how much do you think would be?
Well, there's got to be a balance. Finance ministry easily justifiable. Because the finance minister himself cannot have time to meet people and also supervise a lot of things.
Do you think there's any nuisance ministry currently in this government?
No, I think that some ministries may be able to do with less deputies than others. Okay. Others need more. For example, the SDI ministry does not have a deputy. But the work SDI must do is community-oriented.
Which one do you think should cut down their deputies, maybe?
Oh, that's up to the president.
What do you think?
My work that I give him will give an indication of which ministries need what resources. Because if the nature of the work is that you are not able to do the work well, then he will be able to assess.
Regional reorganization, do you think there should be a deputy there?
There is.
Yes, there is a deputy. I'm asking if you think there should be a deputy.
Yes. Do you know how many? Dan cannot even find time to come to Parliament.
Do you think Anthony Akoto Osei should have a deputy?
I have a deputy.
Do you think your ministry is worth a deputy?
In fact, if you ask me, we need more deputies.
Thank you very much, Doc, for your speaking to us.